at least reduce the angst if we said, okay, the legal rights that these people want, give it to them. You know, Social Security rights, pension rights. I mean, I'm a financial planner, so I understand that people who are legally bound together have legal rights that marriage gives. Just get rid of the word marriage.
John?
I mean, there are some people that are arguing similar but not exactly the same, that we should just make this a form of contracts, in which all relationships are contractual agreements. The problem with that is that you immediately legitimize every aberrant form of marriage that I showed you on the screen, and others you couldn't even imagine. Protection of children and women who are walked out on by their husbands. If you remove the statutory provisions for marriage and domestic relations, then you got a huge free-for-all. You talk about contracts. If you don't have a contract, it's a draconian result, especially for children and wives who are abandoned with a single income. But then you also get a situation where the courts are now making these decisions, more government interference, not less. It's more government interference if you go to private contracts. I do think that marriage is an institution, the state has a compelling interest in it. And we spend $1.9 billion every year just in Florida. That's the cost of family fragmentation as a result of unwed childbearing and divorce. So there's an economic impact here. When a family fragments, is destroyed, the state comes in, there's DCF, there's social services, and it's taxpayers' dollars that are going to fund that. And the state, if we could, we're not, and the legislature doesn't like to talk about marriage and family. They ought to be talking about it, because if we can strengthen marriage and family, you're simultaneously solving so many other domestic problems at the same time.
Yeah, and I think you're eager to respond.
I am. I think it's interesting that we both don't like that idea particularly. I think that it's fascinating because words matter, and social institutions matter, as you mentioned, and the meaning of marriage is incredibly significant to couples who decide to marry. And I think that once you codify a social institution into law, you are accountable to the Constitution, you're accountable to your governmental responsibilities, and so I think that the second marriage became a legal institution, it became something that you cannot deny to people based on their sex, gender, race, all of those things. And so I think that that's the problem, is that words mean things and social institutions mean things, and that you can't deny that to someone for something like their sexual orientation.
David wants to get a word in here quick.
Regarding your question, I've already heard, words do matter. When I was speaking about the values that are associated with marriage, when we really try to identify, well, what is it that brings about these values that are associated to marriage, it really is the idea of commitment. I know folks throw that word out there, commitment. I've heard folks say, well, we're so committed to each other, we just bought a sofa from rooms to go, and the payments start in 2025. But married folks really engage in committing behavior. We don't see it with cohabitating folks. I mean, if you survey married folks, how many of y'all are signed on a 30-year mortgage with your husband and your wife? Hands go up. Not so much with cohabitors. How many of you share a joint retirement account together? You don't find as many cohabitors who share in a joint retirement account. So words do matter, but it's really where the rubber meets the road concerning the commitment in the institution.
We got more questions.